Shalom. It's an honor to stand here in Migdal David, the Tower of David in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, which holds in it layers of history and hopes, and meet wherever you are to learn together about a beloved ancient teacher called Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. But before we enter her world, I want to start with you. The word Yehudi comes from Todah, gratitude. It's a moral, spiritual compass and a way of life to start every morning with Modeh Ani, to start with what we are grateful for, especially in very difficult times. And these are truly difficult, heartbreaking times in which we witness sorrow and destruction on so many levels. Yet in this historic abyss, we have also witnessed courage, selflessness, and beauty. We've held strong to each other with so much care and compassion and friendship. And so I want to enter this moment by saying Todah, Todah, to each and every one of you. Todah for the gentle glow that you are in the face of darkness. And while we are thousands of kilometers away with oceans between us, with so much fear and worry for each other, today we are about to embark and take these threads of light with Torah and Tefillah, faith and friendship, and weave a bridge of light over the abyss. We will do so just as our ancestors did in difficult moments, to guard our hope, to guard our people, and send care to all those in humanity who need it, to be the guardians, ancient guardians of an ancient oath of 5 words. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini, from Psalms 137. Im eshkachech means even when my heart breaks, even when I do not understand how all this came about and how it will end, even when it seems dark and I might forget how a world of light feels, I hold on to you. We hold on to each other. Tishkach yemini. The Turk rabbi Moshe al-Sheikh in the 16th century said that our right hand is the symbol of care, the memory of care. And I will not let that memory fade away, but I will reach out with it and light with it to others. May our study within all the music of Yerushalayim be a prayer for our hostages to come back home, for our beloved soldiers, for so many broken-hearted and injured people, for all those who do not have a home and have lost their families on the 7th of October, for our beloved brave soldiers, for children in Israel, for children in Gaza, for all the broken-hearted who look for even one thin trail of light ahead, all those who need it here in Israel, Jews of all denominations, Druze, Bedouins, Arab, Muslims, and Christians, to all Jews, our beloved people, Am Yisrael, wherever we are, to all nations and people who need it very, very much, for a light called Yerushalayim. As we enter the story of the holy city here in Migdal David, I want to start with the beginning, a beginning of failure. And I apologize, I've been teaching this Torah of Jerusalem, of Yerushalayim for 20 years and more. You might have learned it with me, but I feel it's needed now more than ever. Jewish tradition teaches that at the beginning of creation, there were 2 who lost their homes and experienced homelessness, man and Hashem, God. On that first day of Adam's creation, when God called, Ayeka, where are you? Adam answered, I'm hiding. I hear you, but I'm hiding. The Jewish Hasidic masters teach that on that day the Garden of Eden was shaken, and the destiny to live in it, in that garden, was shaken. It was not the Garden of Eden only which they lost, but they lost each other. Yet God did not give up on us. At the end of that first Shabbat, as Hashem, God, escorted Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, out of the garden, God took them to the gates of Gan Eden, which according to the Jewish legend and Midrash is here in Yerushalayim, just across the Temple Mount of the Holy City. And here, as if it were a secret trail of lighted petal stones, God gave Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve and us, their descendants, guidance on how to return back home one day through a secret code, a spiritual cipher, a holy name, and conduct called Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, this living, busy city of Yerushalayim, in Hebrew, explains Rabbeinu Bachye, who lived in Spain in the 14th century, is a plural name, with Hebrew ending of plural. Im, like eyes in plural, eina'im, ears of na'im, legs, raglaim, hands, yadayim, so is Yerushalayim in the plural. The name of the holy city is a message that the gates of Eden cannot be opened and cannot be entered in the singular. They open only for the sake of the many. The home of Hashem, of God, and Kedusha, holiness, is a space meant to be shared in safety by many. A place of healing from trauma that they have experienced in the face of human violence, as Rabbi Nachman of Breslev explained in the 18th century regarding the human cure. And he says, for the essence of medicine is assembling. For all cures are made when one takes one herb and then another. And then once they are together, a cure is made for humans that has the strength to cure us. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, is a teacher of healing. She knows well and has experienced herself in these very walls and streets the human trauma, and was put at the gates of Eden on the threshold of hell to remind us of the work needed amongst all this, the work of hope for the plural. There is more to the name Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim in Hebrew starts with the sound Y, indicating the future tense, like Israel, which is in future tense, and also the name of God, Yud Hei Vav Hei. The most important word in Jewish tradition points to the future, teaching that the faith lies in the ability to hope from within a heartbreaking reality. Without sending a spiritual anchor to the future, we entrench ourselves in fear and in different modes of self-survival, but there's a higher and more noble vision of Yerushalayim. It must shape the matter of the darkest reality through prophetic imagination, human hope, and above all, humble faith in the Creator, who meant good for all creation. Rabbi Nachman of Breslev in the 18th century taught also about that and said, the essence of faith depends on imagination and hope, where one enters the realm of God's vision. Hope is a spiritual school in thick darkness, when Hashem, God, reaches out to us like a fisherman, sends us a rod of inspiration, believing in us that one day we will enter the realm of the sacred. Faith lies in God, in God's faith in us, which awaits in His eyes for us, crying and watching and trusting and guiding us since that very first day here at the entrance to Eden in Yerushalayim. Lastly, the Hebrew name Yerushalayim, according to Jewish tradition, was given in one of the worst and most brutal times in civilization and war. It was given to the city by two spiritual giants, two leaders of different nations, who came together in an era of darkness in order to oppose the capital city of cruelty and terror, Sodom, Abraham and Melchizedek. The Sodom society code was indifference and cruelty. It was a city where it was forbidden to care. Our ancestors tell the story of a woman called Kala. She was the daughter of Lot, who insisted to help a poor person in the city and paid for that with her own life. Opposing Sodom, Abraham and Melchizedek found holiness in the courage to care for the other, in justice to stand for the other, and in kindness to see the other. And together, they showed it to the world and gave the city her name, a shared vow of morality, involved in reality, to never surrender to Sodom and its cruelty and violation of the sanctity of life, to forever fight against it and present together a higher holy vision for humanity, shared and mutual solidarity and responsibility. Since then, every Shabbat evening, wherever we are, we sing Boi Kala, Lecha Dodi, Boi Kala, Kam Kala, bowing to whoever is at our door, facing Jerusalem, vowing to be worthy descendants, forever opposing Sodom, building the city of care and justice, Yerushalayim. And so Yerushalayim is a name born in the abyss. The labor of Jerusalem is turning fear of darkness into faith of light. It is a commitment calling when we are in the abyss, that despite despair, we will dream in the plural. We will search for the trail to the future and choose a spiritual moral path, starting with searching for even one partner, dreaming in darkness as did our forefathers and prophets, of a city where a prayer house would be shared by all, a study house would be open for all, a food kitchen would be open for all, where refugees and heartbroken people are healed. This city of God, Yerushalayim, Yerusha shel Shalom, an inheritance and legacy of Shalom, peace, would be the compass for all humankind. Jews would return to their homeland to establish a home for us, for ourselves, alongside a home for the neighbors, alongside peace, return to the holy city from generations of exile in order to ascend to the top of the mountain of God's faith in us, in the plural, in future tense, carrying the commitment of peace with partners from within the human community, as we are dreamed in the faith of Hashem, God, in us. But how will we get there? It seems so very far away, especially now. I was born in Yerushalayim. Our children were born here in Yerushalayim, and it seems impossible and more far away than ever. How will we get there? I walk among the houses and the streets, among these layers in the Tower of David, all made of Jerusalemite stone. And I ask myself, and I ask you, how will we get there? And why is the city all made of that stone? Here is what the Torah says about Yaakov, Jacob, just before he dreamed of the ladder. It says, he took one of the stones of the place and put that stone under his head and laid down to sleep, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder. The rabbi of Apta, Heschel's grandfather, explained that the word stone in Hebrew, even, is formed from the word father, Abba. When everything seems stuck, closed, fixed, buried, he says, insist on placing your head on that stone. This is the work your parents trusted you to live for. This is what you were born to work on. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, is made of that stone to remind us of the work, of the ladder. Yet there was one special stone here in Jerusalem, and it's not the Western Wall, but a stone long lost and forgotten, found a few years ago in excavations, called the Stone of Claimants, Even HaToan, where people came from everywhere to perform the ancient mitzvah law of returning lost property. And so it says in Deuteronomy 22, if you see your fellow's ox or sheep gone astray, do not ignore it. You must take it back to your fellow. So shall you do with anything that your fellow loses and you find. You must not remain indifferent. This is a law written for people like me, who lose car keys or purses. It teaches that if you find my purse, you mustn't stay indifferent. You need to look for me and return it to me, even if I lost that purse 4 or 5 times or more, and you kept finding it, they say, you must bring it back to me, your sister, and never remain indifferent. The Hasidic teachers did not think that this was about purses. They thought this law was about dreams we lose over and over again, as individuals, as nations. In the darkness of life and history, we lose trust, hope, faith, and courage, and not once, but over and over again. And that, they teach, is the meaning of the commandment of returning lost property. That somewhere in this world, there's a fellow human being who will find what I lost and return it to me if he doesn't remain indifferent. Where was that claimant stone? Here in Jerusalem. Anyone who lost something would turn there, teach our ancestors. Anyone who found a lost object would turn there. The finder would stand by the stone and announce his find, and the owner would stand by the stone, give the identifying marks, and take it. This truly is one of the most courageous instructions and laws in Jewish tradition, and the most important stone here in Yerushalayim, the stone of Im Eshkachech. Even when I lose everything, when my heart is broken, and the abyss rises, I will hold on to that stone. Tishkach yamini. In war, in destruction and fear, I will hold on to the stone. There is someone around me, and my beloved people of Israel, of Jews of all voices, of all communities wherever we are in the world, of all Israelis who live here. There is someone around me here in Israeli society, which includes Druze, Bedouin, Arabs, Muslim, Christian. There is someone around me in faith leaders of our world of tolerance and conscience for all. Someone who found what I lost and is now searching for me too. Search for them. Search for a ladder, says the city of light on the abyss. At this dark moment in history, we must stand at the claimant stone and declare, we lost trust. It has signs. Has anyone found it? And here in this room of the Interfaith Gallery of the Tower of David, we are performing the mitzvah of returning lost property. This gallery, in very different times in our city, was escorted by a loyal and devoted circle of leaders of Jerusalem called Amen, We created Amen 11 years ago, Jews, Christian, and Muslim faith leaders here in the city who stand together against hate crimes, extremism, and violence, to work together for tolerance, justice, and kindness, to be a living ladder, a tree of life. We chose the name Amen because it is the holiest word, the word that opens the gate of the Garden of Eden, so teaches Reish Lakish, one of the sages in the Talmud. It means, I trust your prayer, Amen. I trust your protection. I trust that you will never remain indifferent. Amen is a Jerusalemite network of brave and humble faith leaders that should exist in every city around this world, vowing together, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, tishkach yamini. Vowing humbleness, tawadu. The holy does not belong to me, I belong to it. Faith does not belong to me, we belong to it. And petal stones of many lights take us all since Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, back to the stones, back to the ladder, to the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life. That is why we pray one of the most beautiful prayers for Yerushalayim and ציון. Or chadash al ציון ta'ir. Baruch ata Hashem yotzer ha'meorot. A new light shall shine upon ציון. Blessed are you, creator of lights. Jerusalem is not one light, but many lights of Amen, which display the panoply of humanity as a reflection of the infinity of our one God. It is the claimant stone where we meet. It is the ladder where we work and ascend. It is made of us when we take one step, seeking courageously for a prophetic future. Yerushalayim. Jerusalem is the umbilical cord to a sacred life of service and faithfulness, to light when we can, wherever we are in the abyss. That is why in Jewish tradition, she's always in our prayers. That is why every couple who gets married under the chuppah commemorates Yerushalayim in the ceremony. That is why every child born hears her praise, and every Shabbat Eve we sing to her. She is the soundtrack and the heartbeat of our life and history of holiness and hope that we have carried, praying to return to her one day in order to ascend here to the top of the mountain of faith, to the gates of Eden together in plural, and save us all, the whole world, from Sodom and hell, for the sake of a shared future for our people and all people in the human family. I know that many witness religion and faith as causes for wars, but the deepest essence of faith, emunah, in one God, trains us all to share this world safely and humbly exercise a life of tolerance and learn to water the world with light in a time of extremism and flames. I speak with you as the Rabbi of ציון, Zion, a community here in Jerusalem of hundreds of Jews who choose to do that work every day, including now. ציון, one of the sacred names of this holy city, means in Hebrew moral excellence, to notice our fellow humans wherever they are. It's a belief that this is the destiny of Zionism and always has been, that Jews come back to the land of Israel after walking through cultures and nations and pains and hate traumas, so we can now care and protect all humanity, for the safety and security for all, for dignity and healing and care for all. We started ציון by first inviting Jews from all backgrounds to gather and know each other. We haven't seen each other in 2,000 years. Then we started meeting regularly with Muslims and Christian faith leaders and communities here in our city and all around Israel. And we created Amen. We initiated interfaith text studies and the interfaith prayer of Ma'aminim, Mu'aminim in the public sphere of Yerushalayim, when hundreds of people who have never met each other came together. Many of us learn Arabic and share a joint interfaith distribution project for all poor of Jerusalem, Al-Quds, of all faiths together. Like miners in earthly Jerusalem, within life itself, within the people and the politics, we carve a path of light between care and indifference, good and evil, truth and deception, faith and fraud, in actual work, in deeds of labor, in friendship, building a city of gentleness, tolerance, and care. Now, in such days of trauma, how can one even think of the heavenly Jerusalem? That is the labor of Jerusalem, to faithfully work in a city commanding the imperative of tolerance when all around us are in flames and destruction. As the Sabbath, Shabbat, is a cure in time, Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, is a cure in space, curing us by assembling us, like today when we learn together. pleading that we peel off the instinct of apathy and despair in favor of an ancient, deep, spiritual, moral instinct rooted here. As we come to the end of our learning together, I hope you'll allow me to part with a prayer and a plea, with words that were said here in this city, in these stones, as the pilgrims entered it from wherever they came, after a long journey, as they were welcomed by words attributed to King David HaMelech, which I send to you from here, the Tower of David, a song of ascents, Shir HaMa'alot. I rejoiced with those who said to me, let us go to the house of Hashem. Our feet are standing at your gates, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built like a city that is gathered slowly together, where all tribes and people go to, all tribes of God, of Hashem. There stands the throne of judgment, the throne of the house of David. Pray for the peace of that Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. May there be peace within your walls and security within your towers for all. For the sake of my family and friends, I say peace to you. For the sake of this house, the house of the Lord, God, Allah, I wish the best for you. You might have been sitting all this time, but please know that we walked a lot today. We walked the Song of Ascent, as did the Levites and all lovers of the city. Ascent for we start low from within the pain. Ascent for here from the beginning, through the abyss. We saw God crying while escorting Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve here, to the city in between heaven and hell, placing petal stones of light at its entrance. We saw Abraham and Melchizedek standing together here against Sodom and cruelty, and giving her joint name, Yerushalayim. We saw Jacob, placing her stones and refusing to ever give up on the ladder within them. They all walked. They were all pilgrims in a journey that seemed endless, impossible, lonely. Their legs deep in the abyss, their souls weaving a bridge of light. And as we part, I pray for us that we never stop weaving that bridge. Never stop walking towards Yerushalayim, especially now. Never stopping the oath, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, tishkach yemini. It's the most holy and deep yearning of Am Yisrael, for it is a yearning of God who trusted us to never abandon the commandment of peace and the city of peace. It is the most universal part of Jewish tradition, Jerusalem, of Zionism, Jerusalem. It puts us in a service of God's dreams to all of us. And so I pray for us, may there be peace amongst us, for the sake of our people, of all people, for the sake of our children and grandchildren and all children and grandchildren wherever they are, for the sake of the heartbroken and the suffering, for those who have lost their voice, for those who have lost their faith. For we are here so close to the gates of the Garden of Eden, and yet so very far away still. For all of my brothers and friends, for all my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me plea and pray, peace to you. This is the house of God, Hashem. We wish the best for you. May this be a prayer for our very long journey. May we choose to walk the long journey of believers, ma'aminim, mu'aminim. May we always choose to be guardians of the light, to stand in face of shadow and darkness. May it be a commitment to work together, one person at a time, one deed at a time. That's faith. May we be guardians of the holy. That's emunah. May we have patience and courage for the life labor needed in our lifetime, however time Hashem, God, Allah gives us. May we guard all leaders of faith wherever they are, from all religions, where inspirations of tolerance and commitment to this journey. May we choose humility and humbleness, tawadu, choose to always be part of something greater than us, and be guided until we reach together the ever-flowing river of light, a city awaiting in peace for us all, Yerushalayim. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, tishkach yamini, תדבק לשוני לחיקי אם לא אזכרכם, אם לא אעלה את ירושלים על ראש שמחתי. למען אחי ורעי אדברה נא שלום בך. למען בית השם אלוהינו אבקשה טוב לך. עושה שלום במרומיו והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. ואמרו אמן.